Hey folks, welcome to Module 2. In this module, our expert will be covering the types and styles of marketing emails. So get ready to take some notes and let's jump right in.
All right, so we're going to go over how to create an email newsletter, and it's going to be pretty bare bones. I just want you to understand the whole process and the concept, and then we're going to go into some examples of email newsletter types, okay? So we're going to come over here to create newsletter. We'll choose the drag and drop email editor. Don't mess with the HTML source editor unless you're an actual coder or you have a coder who works for you. And we're going to give our message a name. Doesn't really matter for this example. We'll hit next. And you have lots of templates to choose from here already created by GetResponse, and the same goes for any email autoresponder service that you are using. Okay, you log in, and I guarantee you'll find several pre-done templates that you can utilize that may or may not match your style. In our case, we're just going to sort of start with a blank template, one column, just like this. All right, so here we are inside of the builder. We're just going to go over the basic process of the drag and drop building experience. And again, this is mostly going to be the same no matter what email autoresponder you are utilizing. However, the layout, the terminology might be a little bit different. So let's start with an image. It's always good to start with a good image. Let's go ahead and grab this one here. This is a good one for choices, right? And we're going to come over here and add another text block up here. Okay, and this is pretty basic stuff. Salutation, so dear customer, and we're not actually going to fill this in here because we don't have anything to type about. We'll get into the actual content of your emails in a moment. We're just going through the mechanical process right now. All right, so we've got a basic email here, okay? And then finally, signing off. All right. Now, there's a few things to keep in mind about your emails here. Number one, personalization is a thing nowadays, okay? So if you wanted to, and it depends on what kind of data you collect during the opt-in process, but if you wanted to, instead of customer, right here, you could click this little icon here for personalize and put their name or their first name right there, and their actual name when they read the email would be here. There would be no brackets or anything like that. Customization and personalization, tailoring it to your specific individual subscriber, that has been shown quite a bit to increase your email performance and your sales and so on and so forth, and your click-through rates. So it's definitely something that you want to toy with at least a little bit if the technology is available, which it is with the vast majority of autoresponders, and if name is something that you collect during the opt-in process. So another thing to consider here is link placement. So a lot of people will just place their link sending to a promotional offer or a product or a cross-sell or something inside of the main body. However, one thing you want to keep in mind with regard to emails overall, a huge percentage of your customers and of your subscribers will skip and skim everything in your email message and just go straight to the PS. It's a fact, it's a phenomenon, it's well known, and so you want to accommodate those people as well and write a little message, usually 1 or 2 sentences long, sort of a TLDR, too long didn't read, summarizing what it is that you're offering, and a link there as well. Now let's continue. I know this is just a bare bones example here. We'll get into some actual email writing and email style in a moment. Let's go through the process here as though we were going to actually send this to someone. So the next thing we're going to choose is our recipients, okay? So let's just grab one of our email lists here. We could grab as many as we wanted to. Here we have an option to actually exclude recipients. So let's say we have one list, which is sort of an umbrella list of all of our customers, and we want to send it to everybody, except we also have another list that everyone goes on to when they buy product A. Now what we want to do if we're doing a promotion for product A is get everyone else to buy it, but not bother or bug the people who already own it. And the best way to do that is simply to create an exclusion and choose a list to not send it to. Does that kind of make sense? So we're going to go ahead and click Next Step. And here we have options for either sending or scheduling. Now, if we send it, it'll go out right now, real time. It's an actual newsletter broadcast. If we want to schedule it, All right, we can actually choose the date and time, and make sure you're paying attention to your time zone as well. And most email autoresponders have a little bit of customization and added features when it comes to how you schedule it in relation to where your folks are around the world. GetResponse in particular has two features. One is called perfect timing, and that actually is based on data for your subscribers, based on when they usually open emails. It's universal data on each subscriber. Okay, it's all anonymous data, but basically, if you have Bob over in Arizona and he opens most of his emails between 3 and 4, GetResponse somehow knows that, all right, and you can make sure that it's sent out at whatever the optimum time is for that subscriber, okay? Just keep in mind, though, if you choose this, it could theoretically be 24 hours before this newsletter goes out to the last of your subscribers, because it's going to be based on, out of a 24-hour day, when each individual is going to be most likely to open it, okay? The other thing here is to choose time travel, and that's just what the feature is called in GetResponse. Again, the terminology might be a little bit different, but basically you send it out at 4 p.m. universally, based on people's time zones. So whatever 4 p.m. is for them. So in this case, 4:55 p.m. it'll go out to the folks here at 4:55 p.m. In the UK, it won't go out to them until it's 4:55 p.m. their time, and so on and so forth. And that can be useful for various reasons. If you're trying to catch people at certain times of the average typical workday, you want to catch people before they go to work at 6 in the morning, or after they finish their supper at 7 o'clock at night, or something like that. It can be really useful for those purposes as well, especially if you have a large international audience. Once we were happy with that, we would hit schedule, or if we just wanted to send it right now, we would go back to just hitting send. We'd hit cancel and send. We're not going to send this, obviously, because it's not a real one. Let's look at some real ones and talk about the different styles of email newsletters, okay? So first off, we've got what I call the blind style, okay? This is sort of a teaser. It's very low on text, okay? It's very short on content. And the idea is just to arouse curiosity so that people want to click that link and get there. So this is for maximizing clicks, and you will typically get higher click-through rates on these types of emails because it's just human nature. People see what you're saying. Maybe you throw out a bold claim or something along those lines, like in this case, yikes, this is incredible. Your average person wants to at least see what that is. Now, the quality and the follow-through of the click might not be so great. So clicks does not always directly correspond to higher levels of sales. Okay, usually it does, but not always. Okay, you might actually, especially if the quality of what you're sending people to will turn them off and maybe give them the impression that you were using, clickbait, as they call it. You could have sort of the opposite effect. So be careful with this. All right, don't annoy your subscribers. But this is one style of email that is especially optimized for increasing your click-through rate. Next, we have the sort of long-form pre-selling. There's different names for this. I call it a pre-sell email, where you're going to be sending people to an offer, but you're actually going to be engaging in the actual selling process. You're trying to convince people in the email. You're trying to sell them in the email on why they should buy what you're going to be sending them to. So in this case, and oh, by the way, I debranded these because I want you guys to understand it doesn't matter what's being sold. These styles and these types of emails apply to anything that you're trying to sell. And in this case, you can see it's pretty long form. There's a bunch of whys. There's a bunch of justification. There's a bunch of logic going on here. It's basically a little sales letter inside of the email message. Okay. Now, for some people, it might not be this. This is just purely logical selling. Hey, you should buy this for this reason. Look at these trends, etc., etc., etc. In some cases, it might be a story. Okay. Hey, I woke up today and this is what I thought about, or I was on a walk with my dog and this happened, and that's how you sort of tie it into clicking on a link and selling them something. The point of this, however, is that it's long. Okay, it's long form, and you're doing the heavy lifting of selling yourself before you send people to an offer. And finally, we have the standard old, what I guess you could call the old school newsletter type email. Okay, once again, this is debranded, redacted, if you will, because it doesn't matter what type of business you're in, you can utilize this and it can apply to what you're doing. So in this case, we've got sort of a table of contents at the top to let people know what we're going to be talking about in this quote-unquote issue. All right, and A lot of people, they resonate with this because they often don't feel like they're being sold to in these cases. Okay, it looks like they're actually being given some important news, some important topics. Okay, so in this case, we've got 3 topics that are being discussed. In this case, we've got a feature or an opportunity here. Over here, we've got another feature and an update on slow support desk time. Over here, we've got the actual pitch, and it's a little bit bigger and in red. Okay, so this is the item. It's still a sales email, but it's being dressed up as something that's not as salesy. Okay, so we've got the actual headline here. We've got a little bit of pre-selling, and then of course we got a link, and down here in the PS, another soft sell link, like we discussed earlier, for those people who just skim and go straight to the bottom. Now, your list or your business might have its own style, okay, its own sort of theme that it sticks to most of the time. However, a lot of people resonate with each of these different styles of emails. Okay, a lot of people are more likely to click through and buy something based on one style or the other. And so if you're doing a 3 or 4 or a 5-day campaign trying to sell something, hey, why not utilize and incorporate each of these different styles of email writing at least once to make sure that you're touching all those bases and increasing your chances of selling. So that's briefly touching on the actual emails themselves. In the next module, we'll move on to discussing the concept of email automation.